Yeah, this community is still picking up the pieces. FEMA placed more than 13,000 households in hotels since Hurricane Helene. But early this month, about 3,000 were reportedly told that their vouchers were up and they had to get out with only days' notice and nowhere to go. There are reportedly about 2,700 people left in the program. And Congressman Chuck Edwards, who represents this district, he's a Republican, said he had to lobby FEMA to give people 21 days notice if they had to get out. He said that that agency agreed, but there has been consternation that FEMA's disaster response has been biased against Republicans. Recall, the agency had to fire an employee after someone on its hurricane relief team said not to visit Florida homes with Trump signs during Hurricane Milton. And Congress has been weighing plans to condition aid following the fires in California. President Trump said this week on Fox that a shakeup for FEMA is ahead.
FEMA has not done their job for the last 4 years. You know, I had FEMA working really well. We had hurricanes in Florida. We had Alabama, tornadoes. But unless you have certain types of leadership, it gets in the way. And FEMA is going to be a whole big discussion very shortly, because I'd rather see the states take care of their own problems.
Now, conditioning aid is a controversial proposal. Historically, Congress has passed supplemental disaster funding on a bipartisan basis, and Biden's FEMA chief of staff warned that picking winners and losers would erode public trust in the federal government. But California's fires are going to be the most expensive disaster in American history, and President Trump threatened to withhold help if the state doesn't amend its water and forest management policies. Governor Gavin Newsom says he's going to meet Trump on the tarmac this afternoon when he heads there after his stop in North Carolina.
A lot of relationships in the Trump world. A lot of relationships of trust. I communicate with a lot of folks around him, folks that have his ear and influence. I don't want. This is a sideshow, a lot of this stuff, but I know it's the show that will probably be the focus of a little bit too much tomorrow, when all I care about is what we can do together.
Now, this aid debate is going to be a test for Trump's pick to lead DHS, Kristi Noem. She said in a confirmation hearing this week that she would not politicize disaster aid, but she sidestepped a question from a Democrat on whether she would defy such an order if she got one from President Trump, guys.
Hey, Jackie, one of the things I wonder about is how the people, it's tough, I know you just got there, feel as though how their local government's interacting with FEMA. It got off to such a horrendous start, and we heard the story about them being kicked out of their temporary housing last week, which was ameliorated.
Yeah, that's right. I'm actually going to be speaking later on this morning with Congressman Chuck Edwards. And just from, what the little that we know of the conversation he had with FEMA, he had to actually tell the agency, hey, you got to let people know with more than a couple days notice if their vouchers are up and they've got to get out of these hotels. There's a housing crisis in this community. So that would indicate maybe not so great communication. But of course, he's the U.S. rep from this district. On a local level, it may be different conversations, but we should learn more detail later this morning when I speak with him, guys.
Jackie, when I was there on the ground, a lot of the folks said they didn't see FEMA. And then we found out from the whistleblower, and one of the ladies got fired, that there was actually instances where they saw Trump signs in front of the yard and were telling people, don't stop by those doors. So I guess my question is, when the president comes to meet with the folks today, is he going to be meeting more with the people or more with the leadership?
We don't have too many details yet about the president's trip. We know he's going to be surveying the disaster areas, both here in Asheville and when he gets to California. So we'll see who greets him on the tarmac in both places. But I think that, to your point, the feeling in this community for sure, and also after Milton in Florida, was that the federal government maybe wasn't going to be there under Biden's FEMA to support communities that were Republican communities. And so, of course, when you have local officials like California Governor Gavin Newsom, scrambling to the tarmac to meet Trump, they're concerned that they're going to need help from the federal government, and they want to get ahead of those conversations. But on a local level, it's the people who live here who are still months later. I mean, this was a Japanese restaurant behind me. It's a shell of a building now. There's rubble all over this parking lot. And so, they're the ones who really have to live with this every day. And we'll see who else shows up to greet the president beyond those local officials when he gets here.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you so much, Jacqui. I hope Samaritan's Purse, Franklin Graham, will be with him.
Job.
And I'm sure the president will talk to locals and talk to the officials just to find out how he can help them with federal money. All right, let's talk about the Panama